Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very pleased to have with me Liam Naden, and let me tell you about Liam. He is a speaker, trainer, teacher, writer, researcher, and helps you create true success in your life by understanding how to use your brain the right way, overcoming your problems, achieving your goals, and ending frustrations. He is the host of the Let Yourself Off the Hook podcast, and he is there to help you end that frustration by coaching you in his programs, explaining how to achieve success without struggle. He is also an experienced marriage and relationship coach and host of the Growing in Love for Life podcast, and he's the author of 2 books and the 20-volume Growing in Love for Life series of short books on marriage. He is also the creator of 4 relationship coaching programs, and originally he is from New Zealand and recently completed an 8-year adventure sailing through 15 countries in Europe on his own yacht. Please join me in welcoming Liam as we talk about the secrets of the brain that we never been taught. Join me in welcoming Liam. Hey, Liam. So how
Hi,
are
Vicki.
you today?
Very well, thank you. Very
So
nice to meet you. Thank you for having me on your show. Looking
it's
forward
my
to it.
pleasure. Always like to talk about the brain. It's such a interesting thing. So we always start with an easy question. We said that you're originally from New Zealand, but where are you calling home today?
Well, it might be an easy question to ask, but it's not an easy question for me because I don't have a home. For the last 13 years, I've been just a permanent traveller. And you mentioned I had 8 of those years on a yacht. And currently we live in a motorhome and we're in the middle of France at the moment, in a beautiful little valley overlooking a lake, little village around the corner. So that's where I live, is right here, right now.
So cool. And you have great reception for being in a motorhome. Sometimes some of my nomad guests, their reception is not so hot, but yours is awesome. Great picture and everything. As part of my coaching is to help you be better online, and you're doing a good job. Excellent.
Thank you.
So we're going to get into what we want to talk about today. And I always like to start, though, just explaining, gosh, especially for you, when you decided, I'm going to leave New Zealand, I'm going to take this adventure. And I'm sure some of your friends are like, whoa, what? Talk to us about this journey that's taken you on the sea and now on the road to be able to experience life really from the eyes of all these different cultures.
Well, I guess the way I started out in my life was probably like many of the people listening and watching this, is I was always driven to become the best version of myself that I could be. In other words, I wanted to have a great life. Even as a child, I always thought, how can I have adventures? How can I do fun and exciting things? I don't want to just settle for a mediocre life. And as I grew up, that became more and more of a passion, was how do you become a great person? How do you live a life of freedom and excitement and passion and, having plenty of money to do whatever you want to do as well? How do you actually do that? And that question, or that desire to really be a success in my life, if you like, that really took me in all sorts of directions. And I started off after university in my own business, and I've had 18 different businesses at last count. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I've never really worked for anyone else. I've always had my own business. And so I really learned all I could about business and how to do marketing and sales and management and finance and all those things to really create successful businesses. And many of them were very successful. But I was still driven. How can I achieve more? How can I set bigger goals? That also took me on lots of exploration about this whole idea of how do you create success in your life? How do you get the results that you do? And I did everything from religious study, spirituality, meditation, lots of different spiritual study and practices, and also the whole area of self-help, personal development, personal growth, peak performance. And I was the sort of person who would go to all the seminars, and I went all over the world, including to your fine country, to study with the gurus, if you like, in seminars and workshops. And I read lots of books, all of the well-known books on, how to change your thoughts, how to change your beliefs, how to attract success to you, how to set goals, how to achieve goals, how to reprogram your subconscious mind, how to turn yourself into a peak performer. So I really thought I was an expert in all of these things because I was achieving a lot of success. I was a multi-millionaire, had a great lifestyle, multiple homes, travel around the world, all that sort of thing. But something happened, or should I say, one thing I noticed in hindsight about my life as this successful person was I never really got to the point where I could say I feel really successful. And I think most of us as entrepreneurs, we have this inner burning, which is always saying to us, no, there's something more. You're not there yet. Don't be satisfied. Or even if you want to be satisfied, you can't be satisfied. You're not satisfied. You keep thinking there's more. And what I noticed with that were a couple of things. Firstly, it never made me feel that great. I was always feeling there was something missing. And I never really felt truly in control of my life. So I was always pushing for the next thing, trying to set bigger goals and reach, do more. And the other thing that was a part of my life in this phase, if you like, which lasted quite a few years, was that I always had problems and stress. Things would be going well for a while, but then a problem would show up. Or I always had these niggling thoughts, I've got this problem I have to deal with, or something's confusing. Maybe it's something in my business that isn't working as well as I would like it to be, or with a staff member or whatever. So I'd always have problems. And I actually believed, and in fact, I read many books, and there are many people who will tell you this and teach you this, but I actually believed that problems are a natural part of success. That if you want to be successful, if you want to have a great life, you have to learn to overcome obstacles. And problems are good for you. Overcoming these challenges, it makes you a stronger and a better person. And so now I've since discovered none of that is actually true. But anyway, I did believe it. And I thought, well, this is the way life is. Yes, it has some good aspects to it. Yes, there's a lot I should be grateful for. But I'm never really going to be truly happy because I'm always going to have problems, and I'm always going to feel that there's something missing, that there's something more that I need to do in my life, that there's another level that I need to achieve. So there I was barreling along, and I'm sure many people can relate. Most people can relate to this mindset or this life, if you like. But something happened in my mid-40s that should never have happened, given that I was this expert on success and knew how, could quote all of the gurus and all of the books about what success was and how you achieve it. But all of a sudden, pretty well overnight, I went from being a multi-millionaire to being homeless and penniless, and I lost absolutely everything.
Wow.
And I had to move back in with my elderly mother, sleep on the sofa in the living room of her small apartment. And I had nothing. And she lived in a town where I had no friends. I didn't know anybody. everything had gone.
Wow.
And, you know, there was a couple of things that happened to me during that experience. Well, there were two questions that continually played on my mind that I couldn't find answers to. And the first question was, why has this happened to me? This isn't in any of the books. This wasn't on any of my goals lists. You know, this wasn't in any of my plans, was to lose everything. So I thought, why has this happened to me? In fact, not only why has it happened to me, but, you know, it shouldn't have happened to me, because I know how to create success. I know how to have the right thoughts. I know how to visualize. I know how to use these techniques of the mind and the brain and and you know, these things. It should never have happened to me. So I didn't have an answer to that as to why it had happened, other than I thought, well, whatever I've been doing, whatever I've believed about success and how you create it and how you keep it, there's something not right. And the second question I continually ask myself is, what am I going to do now? Because I had no idea what to do. As I said, I was somewhere I didn't know anybody. I'd lost all of my contacts and all of my businesses and all my means of income. And I really got to the point where I had absolutely no idea what to do. So I was stuck with those two questions. Why has this happened to me? And what do I do now? I had no answer. But anyway, I got through that whole experience, as obviously I did, because here we are. But I got through that experience, and what I noticed was my life went in quite a different direction. And sure, I got back on my feet and I started creating new businesses. And they were going very well. I was making a lot of good money again. And I was starting to have the freedom to do the things that I really wanted to do. But there were a couple of differences, or a few differences. One was I was doing far more interesting and exciting things than I ever thought possible. You know, I'd never had on a goals list that I was going to buy a new yacht and sail it around Europe for 8 years, visiting 15 countries. That was never on my goals list. And if anyone had suggested it, I would have thought they were crazy. So I was starting to do not only much better things, but things that I wasn't aware how much that I would enjoy and how much fulfillment they would give me in my life. So this was all happening. But the other thing that was happening in my new life was everything was, in a funny sort of way, working out in my life. Whereas before, I'd always been chasing after success. I'd always been trying to make things happen. I'd always tried to force things. I'd say to myself, you know, that's my goal and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to achieve it, come hell or high water. And I'd always be pushing hard, and I'd say, what do I need to learn? What do I need to do? What information do I need to get? Push, 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 try, put in all this effort. And most of the time I didn't reach my goals, but sometimes I did. But I had all that stress and I was always pushing, chasing after success. But this time around, I had all these great things happening in a strange sort of a way. And it sounds odd, but it felt like success was coming after me. Because although I was putting in effort, there wasn't the struggle. I wasn't chasing after things. And things would literally start showing up in my life. And it might have been in the form of people. You know, I met somebody, I remember once when I had nothing, and somebody I hadn't seen in 20 years, and he recognized me and he knew my background, and he said, Liam, there's an opportunity here to set up a business that would be great for you. And I looked into it, and a few weeks later, I had this new business. Now, I had no money. I don't know how, well, I sort of can tell you the nuts and bolts of how it happened, but how did it really happen? How did it all come together to help me get back on my feet? And that was really just one of many coincidences or lucky breaks, if you like, or synchronicities that got me really thinking there's something else going on here that's beyond just me trying to force things to happen, me trying to make things happen and work it all out. And this is really great because not only are things falling into place in a much more flowing and easy way, but I don't have the problems and stress to deal with that I used to. And it was really weird. I was thinking, I literally really don't have problems and stress. Sure, there are things that are unexpected or things that I have to work on, but not things that make me feel full of dread about waking up in the morning or things that are playing on my mind. And if there was a little hitch, if you like, somewhere, it just seemed to work itself out a lot more easily. So I said to myself, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. what am I doing differently? Because whatever it is, I want to make sure I keep doing it. I don't want to mess this up because life is going so well. And really that led me in a slightly different direction to understanding what really creates success in our life. Because as I started to understand, if we're really honest, the things that create our life, if each of us who are listening or watching maybe think, all of the things that make up your life, who you are, where you live, your life situation, where have all of those things come from? And I'm pretty sure if you really think about it, you'd have to say, I don't really know where they came from. They just sort of happened. And you might have a goals list and you might be working towards something, but whether you achieve that or not, there are a lot of other things that keep going on. And sometimes we think we have to be in control of all of the circumstances in our life. And if we're not, then there's something wrong with us. But the reality is you can't control all of the circumstances in your life. Well, you actually can, but in a different way. But we think we can, and we lose sight of the fact that there's a bigger picture, that there's a bigger way that not only you function, but the whole of this natural world functions to create the life that we have. And that's what I started to learn about, and that's what I started to really understand on a different level and realize what I was doing. And the key thing it's all to do with is this piece of biological machinery that we have between our ears called our brain. So that's where I got to this point, and this is what I share with people to understand how their success machine actually works and how they can create natural success rather than spending this life that most people do, and that I certainly used to do, of trying to force it and literally struggling against what is natural.
So let's talk about the brain. What are the 4 parts of the brain, and how do they work together to give us the results that we want, that we're seeking in life?
Sure. Well, just before we do that, I think it's worth just reminding ourselves of what our brain actually is, because most of us have never been taught anything about the brain other than, oh, well, it's this thing that keeps you breathing, and you have your thoughts and memories as well, and but we don't really understand what its true purpose is. And to understand what its true purpose is, you have to understand, what is your purpose? Why are you here? Not you, but why are we here?
Mm-hmm.
Why, what is our purpose? And we can have lots of different discussions or lots of philosophical viewpoints people have on our purpose, but there's one thing we can all agree on, irrespective of our beliefs or spiritual ideas. We can all agree on one thing, and that is we all live in a physical biological body. We're not, irrespective of what else we are, we live in a physical biological world in a physical biological body.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we're governed by physical and biological laws. And those physical and biological laws, it doesn't matter what else you want to do, you can never overcome those. So you can never overcome the law of gravity, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
You can be standing on the top of a cliff, and you could say to yourself, I'm going to fly up, I'm going to walk off this cliff and fly up in the air. And you can pray as hard as you like, you can meditate, you can change your beliefs, you can rewire your subconscious mind, you can do affirmations, you can convince yourself that you're going to fly up in the air. But the second you step off that cliff, you're going to fall down. Everything is governed by biology, irrespective of what you think you can do to control it, because we have no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
We have no control over our heart beating, pretty much, our breathing, all of the bodily functions that keep us alive. We have no control over these things. We have no control over the sun rising in the morning. These are all parts of biological nature that control everything. So what we need to understand is, what is our biological purpose? And our biological purpose is the same as every other biological living thing. We are wired, designed, programmed for one primary purpose biologically, and that is to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So our main biological function is to seek to survive. And of course, what that means is, and what it means for all of nature, is you have the greatest chance for survival when you are at your best. Nature has, or science has, a word for this called homeostasis, which means the perfect and optimal functioning of the organism. So every living thing is wired and designed to have optimal and perfect functioning, so that it has the greatest chance for surviving the longest. So that's really important to understand, because when you realize that we're all wired literally to be the best that we can be so that we have the greatest chance for survival.
Yeah.
A couple of things come out of that. The first is, are we the best that we can be? Because what does that mean? Well, it doesn't just mean physically your best. It also means mentally and emotionally your best. And mentally and emotionally being your best means to be happy, means to be fulfilled, means to feel a sense of purpose and gratitude and love and excitement about your life, because that is literally being the best that you can be and giving you the greatest chance for survival. So biologically, your purpose is to be happy. You are designed, wired, programmed to be happy and fulfilled in your life. And then the next thing the question is, and people say to me, well, that's all very well, but I'm not happy. Why not? And in fact, if you look around nature, somebody did an interesting study, and the conclusion they came to recently was that in all of nature, in all of the biological world, there is a 98% success rate. And by success, it's defined as the state of homeostasis, being the best that it can be. So in nature, 98% of all living things are being the best that they can be. And if you look in nature, if you look at trees, or if you look at animals or birds, you see they are simply being. And they know what to do in every moment to carry out their biological purpose, which is to be the best that they can be. So 98% of all of nature is living in this state of homeostasis, being the best that it can be, ensuring that it has the greatest chance for survival. There's a 2% failure rate because of, a tree planted in the wrong place, or a flood or a storm wiping out things or whatever. But the same study concluded that there's only one exception, and that's humans, and we're 98% unsuccessful. 98% of us are not living in this state of optimal functioning. We're not being the best that we can be. We're not happy. We're not fulfilled. We're stressed. We're worried. And our body is certainly nowhere near the best it could be either. So what's the difference? Why is it, and we are the exception, why are we so out of kilter with the rest of nature and not living our biological purpose? We're not living in harmony with who we really are. And it's a bit like we're continually walking off cliffs thinking that we're going to go up in the air. We're killing ourselves. Why are we doing these things? Denying that nature exists. Well, the first thing we don't realize is that all of the way this is achieved, this perfect state of homeostasis or optimal functioning, being the best that we can be, is that we, like every living thing, have actually been given a mechanism, a machine, a tool whose sole job is to ensure that we do become the best that we can be, and so that we have the greatest chance for survival, and that's a brain. So we've never been taught that your brain is actually a programmed biological machine designed for one purpose, and that's to make you the best that you can be on every level, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, so that you have the greatest chance for survival. We don't realize that's what it's designed to do. And the other thing we don't realize is that how capable it is of doing it. There've been a lot of books written about the brain, and as I say, we all talk about this, the brain. We have no idea how incredible the brain is. Yeah. And the human brain, if someone was to say to you, I've got a machine here, a computer, and its sole job is to give you everything in your life to make you the best that you can be, to have the best life experience, because that's your purpose, so that you live the longest, you survive the longest. That's your reason for being here biologically. Right. And this computer has the power of 500 trillion microprocessors. It's the most powerful computer that exists in the universe. And its sole job is to do everything it can to guarantee that you live the best life possible. Would you be interested in using it?
Of course, yes.
But we don't know that that's what it is. That's what the brain is. It has the power to do this. But we need to use it the right way, because here's the thing with any machine, including the brain. What's the cause of problems with a machine? It's when you're not using it right. Imagine a motor car. A motor car's got one purpose, and that's to get you from where you are to where you want to go. It's going to do it predictably, reliably, and it's going to give you an enjoyable ride. That's the purpose of that machine. But if it doesn't get you there to where you want to go, and if you're not having an enjoyable ride, well, you've got to ask yourself, maybe I'm driving it the wrong way, or I'm putting the wrong fuel in, or, oh, hang on, what's this? But maybe I don't understand how to drive it. And that's why it's not working properly. And the only reason that you would have problems with a car is if you weren't driving it the right way. And your brain is literally the same. It's a machine programmed for one purpose. So if it's not doing the job, it's because it's not being used the right way, and it's going to create problems. And problems are simply a sign in your life that this sounds a bit kooky, but it's so logical and basic. And the more you study it and you realize this is true, that problems and stress in your life are simply the result of using this machine the wrong way. And what I discovered through my old and new life is when you start using the machine the right way, and I didn't know what I was doing to start with. I had to back engineer and figure out what I was doing differently. But when you start using it, your problems literally disappear. You're not designed to have problems. You're designed to have this life in homeostasis like the rest of nature. So that's really the background to understand how important it is to understand how your brain works. It's really the basis of everything. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to use this machine the right way. It's a bit like with a motor car. If someone came along to you and said, the reason it's not going right is because the seats, you need better seats. You need to put some leather seats in, or you need a better stereo system, or you need to paint the outside a different color. Wheels need different wheels on it. Now if you knew about a car, you'd think, well, those might make a slight difference, but hey, they're not really going to. But they're going to keep me busy doing things, and oh yes, I'll fix this and I'll fix that and I'll work on this and work on that. But it doesn't have the result because you're still not using the machine essentially the right way. But if you were using the machine the right way, it wouldn't matter what seats or stereo or tires you had on the car. It's going to get you there perfectly adequately in an enjoyable way. And so this is why I've created a 4-part brain model to help people understand how the brain works, because there's lots of scientific jargon about the brain and people get all, I don't want to learn physiology and anatomy and all those sorts of things. So I've created a simple model which explains the 4 parts of your brain, how they work, how they're each designed to work, and how, probably quite importantly, how to see how you've been doing it wrong. Because all of us, all of our life, have been taught to use our brain the wrong way. Now, we haven't really been taught how to use our brain, but we've been taught what we've been taught, which makes our brain work in the wrong way. And that's why most of us have got all these problems and stress, and we're not the 98% success rate that the rest of nature is. So I'm happy to share with you, if you like, this 4-part brain model, which is quite brief. And
yeah,
I think
that'd be great. We're running out of time, but we're going to have you back.
Okay, well, essentially, there are 4 parts to your brain. There's your rational thinking brain, which is at the top of your head, which is about all of your thoughts, the information that you pick up in your life. It's all stored there. There's your emotional feeling brain, which is just below that inside your head. There's your survival brain, which includes everything about your moment-by-moment survival that you don't need to think about. And one really important part of that is your response to threats and dangers. That's part of your survival. So if something comes into your life that could harm you or even kill you, you have a response there, a part of your survival brain that kicks in and reacts. So we sometimes call this the fight-flight response. So that's all there designed to ensure your moment-by-moment survival. But the master part of your brain is the part that people, when they achieve real success, real results, is the part that they're using, but most people don't really know it exists, and if they do, think it's all a bit of luck and a fluke, and that's your creative brain. This is a part of your brain separate to your thoughts, separate to your thinking brain, separate to your emotional brain, separate to your fight-flight response, that controls things like your imagination, your creativity, your resourcefulness, your intuition. It's where you get those gut feelings or those new ideas. You go, I've never thought of that before. It's where you get your motivation. And all of these things are from a part of your brain that is designed to make your life the best that you can be, because it's when you are creative, it's when you come up with the right ideas, it's when you make the right decisions, not based on fear, but based on, yes, I know that's the right thing to do. When you come from a place of knowing, you're always going to be led to be doing the best things that are right for you. And you're always going to feel the best as well, because we know this feeling. It's sometimes called in the flow or in the zone, when things are going well in our life, where things are all falling into place. So this is actually a biological function of how we operate. This is our creative brain. So the key to success is not to use your thinking brain, trying to figure stuff out, trying to work it out, trying to plan your life with goals and stress and all those things. It's not through your survival brain, through your fight or flight, through reacting to things and trying to fight back and trying to struggle and trying to create stuff, and make life hard. It's actually by utilizing this part of your brain, the creative brain. So that you come up with the right ideas, you solve problems when they show up, you avoid creating problems, you avoid problems. And this is what your 500 trillion microprocessor computer will do for you if you use that part. But most people aren't using that part. And what I teach people is how to access and use that part rather than the part that they're using, which is the stress-based survival part. Because here's one interesting thing. When you're in a state of stress, and I really encourage people to go to my website and check this in more detail to understand how this works. But whenever you're in a state of stress, fear, worry, or anxiety, you are activating a part of your brain, the survival brain, which shuts down your creative brain.
Yeah.
So literally those feelings, and there's a biological reason, which we probably don't have time to get into, but there's a biological reason why this happens, which is good. But it's not good when it's preventing you from solving problems, because this part, the survival part, doesn't know the answer to your problems. It doesn't know the answers to what you really want in your life. It doesn't know what your goals should be. It doesn't know who you should be with. It doesn't know where you should be. It doesn't know what you should be doing in any moment. That's all in your creative brain.
Right.
But you can't access that part when it's blocked, because your brain is stuck in this stress state, which is in survival, in your survival state. So the only mission in life is to avoid things that make you feel afraid, worried, stressed, and anxious, because it acts like a trigger, it acts like a switch. And this is why in the Bible, it says 365 times, be not afraid. Do whatever you do in your life, don't be afraid. Because when you are afraid, you activate this survival part of your brain and you switch off your creative part. So all of the resources that are there to make you the best that you can be, you don't have access to those because your brain has temporarily diverted you into a stress state. So make it your mission to avoid fear. And what I teach people is all of the ways that you can start to develop a habit of cutting fear out of your life, cutting stress, worry, anxiety out of your life. And people say to me, oh, it's all very well for you, Liam. Of course you don't have problems, but you don't know about my life. I've got all this stress and problems. And, I just can't pretend that they're not there. And what about all the problems in the world? I can't get rid of all of that. And I can't be happy. I can't get rid of stress. The truth is you can, but you just don't know how. And it's so important to realize this, because this isn't just an idea. This is a biological mechanism at work. And the fact that we don't understand it, most people have never heard about this and don't understand it, is why we're stuck with our problems. So if you want to solve your problems and live your biological and higher purpose, being the best that you can be, you have to find a way to access the part of your brain that has all the resources that you need in it to achieve that.
Well, as I said, time has run out, but I would love to have a part 2 to this, and you and I will talk after to see how quickly we can make that happen, because we want to continue this conversation. If you, audience, have been intrigued and really enjoying this great conversation that we've been having about the brain, you're going to want to connect with Liam. And those of you that are listening, again, you can get all this information on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. Please subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com. But if you are fortunate enough to be watching, you can get a screenshot right now. Again, that website is liamnaden.com. That's liamnaden.com, liamnaden.com. And it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube. You can get all of those accessed by just searching his name, Liam Naden. Facebook does have Liam Naden Fan. But again, if you just search his name on any of those social media platforms, you'll be able to find him quickly. I'm going to turn it over to Liam to talk to you about what you can find on his website and about his free webinar that he has. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Vicki. Yeah, I'm very excited about the webinar I've put together that people can sign up, and it's absolutely free, just at liamnaden.com. In fact, if people are, maybe they're thinking about it right now and listening to us finishing off, well, if you're on your phone, open a new tab and just put your details in right now. It's just your name and email address, and you'll get access to this webinar, because this is some of the most important information that I have to share about how your brain works and how you can really start using it in a different way to start getting some completely different results. And what you're going to find is you're going to say, well, I understand this, but I'm not quite sure if it works. But you're going to try it, and something's going to happen in your life, unexpected, and then you're suddenly going to realize and think, how did that happen? Something good I'm talking about, by the way. And was it a miracle? And then you're going to start to make this connection between your brain, this 500 trillion microprocessor computer, and what it's doing for you and what it can do for you. And you're going to start seeing different results. And when you start this process, it becomes really exciting, because then you start to see more and more things show up in your life, and you start to use your brain the right way more and more. And it's happened for me, and it's happened for many people I've helped as well. Suddenly your life, or not suddenly, but gradually your life becomes quite different and far better than you ever thought. And you look back and you think, how did this all happen? This is amazing. So I really encourage people to check out that webinar, sign up for it. It's all free, and it's got some great information there on how you can simply start making this move in a different direction in your life, and finally seeing some progress without all the stress and struggle and thinking, oh, I've got to read another book, and I've got to remember more information, and I've got to do something like, put my left foot in front of my right foot and breathe 20 times. There's nothing like that. This is all far more natural and far easier to do. So just, it's liamnaden.com is the place to get it.
Awesome. So Liam, it has just been really very interesting. And as I said before we started, I am fascinated by the power of our brain, and again, understanding it, I think, is just really a key to success. So I'm so happy to have you as a guest today. and pleased with all the information that you shared.
Thank you very much for having me, Vicki. It's been great.
And as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.